Hello and a very warm welcome. This is Ameco and you're watching our daily updates live from the studio. I am Gaila Damu. Stay tuned. President Sahlawarq Zewde said we should always celebrate and most of all learn from the victory of Adwa that reverberated across Africa, the Caribbean and the entire world. In a remark during the inaugural ceremony of Adwa Victory Memorial, President Sahlawarq lauded Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Mayor Adaanech Abeebe for their outstanding achievement for the Victory Memorial, which has been regrettably omitted for 127 years. The President also lauded all those who took part in the accomplishment of the Victory Memorial. Adwa victory is celebrated far beyond Ethiopia by all the people who fought against oppression, the President said, and emphasized the need to preserve it well and pass it on to the next generation. The President underscored that from the unity of our Ethiopian forefathers and selfless sacrifice paid against the invading troops, the current generation should draw essential lesson and maintain unity. The Adwa Victory Memorial, which is a legacy that goes beyond the bounds of time and place for all the black people across the world, was inaugurated by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in the presence of top government officials, diplomatic corps and invited guests. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has urged Ethiopians to inherit the positive assets of their forefathers from the victory of Adwa to solve contemporary challenges and build prosperous Ethiopia. Modomulye tells us more.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed inaugurated the Adwa Victory Memorial in the presence of President Sahlawarq Zewde, Deputy Prime Minister Temesgen Turuneh, Supreme Court President Theodros ምህረት, House of People's Representatives Speaker Taggese Chaffo, and other high-ranking government officials, diplomats and invited dignitaries. The memorial, a testament to the legendary 1896 Battle of Adwa, stands as the beacon of Ethiopian resilience and self-determination. Its unveiling 128 years after the resounding victory resonated deeply with the Prime Minister. The Premier attributed its realization to a confluence of change, struggle, and hard work, highlighting the pivotal role these elements play in shaping human destiny. Abiy said we Ethiopians are inherently fortunate, his voice resonating with pride, and this very identity, being Ethiopian, is a privilege we possess. Abiy noted we all Ethiopians here are lucky. What makes us lucky is the fact that we are Ethiopians. While other nations with shared ancestry may strive to build such monuments, but they cannot embody the spirit of heroes of Adwa, such as Minilik, Balcha, or Alula, and this is a legacy uniquely ours. The Prime Minister added, Ethiopianness is a privilege we are endowed with. Thus, Abiy said, we have inaugurated this Adwa Victory Memorial here in a manner that matches Ethiopia after 128 years today, through hard work, struggle, and endeavor to pass it to the next generation. The Prime Minister said our forefathers had known on what issue they became cooperative and made difference. They also knew the difference between the government and the interests of the country, and called on the new generation to inherit the positive assets from them. The Prime Minister emphasized our forefathers understood the power of unity and discernment. They distinguished between the government and the true interests of the nation, and this wisdom is a crucial inheritance we must embrace. The Premier urged the younger generation not to simply inherit the fires of the past, but to harness the true spirit of Adwa's victors. Furthermore, Abiy underscored the enduring lesson of separating government interests from the national good, a wisdom gleaned from the triumphs of Ethiopia's ancestors.
The third Ethiopia-Rwanda Joint Ministerial Commission meeting that will stay till Tuesday has begun in Addis Ababa by high-ranking officials of both countries. Ran Workene has the details.
This opening session, led by African Affairs Director General at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Fessa Shaul, and Rwanda's Ambassador to Ethiopia, Majid Charles Karamba, has featured high-ranking officials representing from both countries. African Affairs Director General at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Fessa Shaul, said Ethiopia and Rwanda have excellent relations. Fessa stated that the areas of cooperation between the two countries have diversified after the signing of a dozen of Memorandum of Understandings during the second Joint Ministerial Commission meeting held in Kigali in 2017. Fessa added the implementation and follow-up of such agreements is not, as it should have been, partly due to the global outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic that took us about 2 to 3 years, and we are trying to compensate the time we lost so far. The Joint Ministerial Commission is one of the mechanisms to keep our stronger relations moving to further heights.
This Joint Ministerial Commission is one of the mechanisms to keep our stronger relations moving to further heights. We have to establish a follow-up mechanism so that we can make things in order timely.
Rwanda's ambassador to Ethiopia, Majid Charles Karamba, said for his part, the countries enjoy excellent bilateral relations and also at least a multilateral level, including at the African Union and the UN. The ambassador emphasized that the meeting will further strengthen their bilateral relations.
The outcome of this third JMC will go a long way in strengthening our bilateral cooperation.
When the meeting concludes, Ethiopia and Rwanda are expected to emerge with a renewed commitment to work together, building on the existing strong ties. It was indicated. The agreement establishing the Joint Ministerial Commission was signed in 2012.
A historian said that Ethiopia's newly built Adwa Victory Memorial is a practical testament that Ethiopians had inflicted the major blow to colonialism in the industrial world in Africa. Vivendel Nesat yelsaas more.
The Adwa Victory Memorial commemorates the historic Battle of Adwa, which took place on March 1, 1896. The project that was designed to showcase the grandeur and historical significance of Ethiopia, inaugurated in the presence of high-level government officials and invited guests, majestically perched at the heart of Addis Ababa, locally known as Piazza, with its ultra-modern architectural design. The Adwa Victory Memorial is built in a manner befitting the nation's greatness and its temerarious contribution in anti-colonialism struggle. A historian and archaeologist, Taganu Gosa, said, the brilliant history of Ethiopian martyrs deserves the memorial that has become a reality in this new generation. Taganu indicated that Adwa Victory immensely changed the history of black people who had been under the yoke of colonialism. The beacon for the freedom of humanity. The historian pointed out many African countries and leaders in the continent, including the South African Nelson Mandela, were inspired by the victory in their anti-colonialism struggle. The historian more importantly added that Ethiopians defeated the white supremacy in African soil. The historian underscored that the victory of Adwa is a great symbol of invincibility for black people. For Taganu, Adwa is not only a victory on the battlefield, but the success of centuries that could be described in many ways. Most importantly, the historian underscored the victory of Adwa is extremely unique, which prevented the colonial powers era from achieving a total victory in the African continent, and a rocket booster for the inception of Pan-Africanism movement. However, Taganu said, we have no practical memory to show the practical events of Adwa victory during the past 128 years. In this regard, the newly built memorial will create a new spirit to Ethiopian and other black people, as well as to enjoy the real taste of Adwa victory. Taganu further explains that the Adwa victory is not only for Ethiopians and Africans, but also as a symbol of freedom for the people of Caribbean, Latin American, and other parts of the world. Hence, the Adwa Victory Memorial will help people around the world to visit the museum, which depicts spectacular and consequential victory in the history of black people.
The Ugandan Pan-Africanist Richard Job Matua said that the victory of Adwa was the beginning point of African resistance to colonization, and going forward we must really leverage on the victory to remobilize African brothers and sisters to face the present-day challenges facing the continent. And Netanyahu has more.
The Battle of Adwa took place in March 1896 when a well-disciplined and massive European army did the unthinkable and brought Italy's war of conquest in Africa to an end. In an exclusive interview with European news agency, the Pan-Africanist Richard Job Matua said that the victory reminds Africans that when mobilized and organized, they can achieve great victory even against superior powers. Matua added that European brothers and sisters from all corners of the country came together to defeat the invading Italian force in their attempt to colonize Ethiopia. In an age of relentless European expansion, Ethiopia had successfully defended its independence and cast doubt upon unshakable certainty of the age that sooner or later all Africans would fall under the rule of Europeans. Matua elaborated that this event opened a bridge that would lead, in the aftermath of World War after 50 years, to the continent's painful struggle for freedom from colonial rule. The Pan-African stated that the decisive victory galvanized African resistance to colonization effectively and prevented Ethiopia from being colonized. Matua underscored that, leveraging on that victory, we Africans should take that victory as example of our own effort to defeat the present-day colonization. The Pan-Africanist said, if we mobilize ourselves by always reminding the great victory of Adwa, we can defeat the present-day colonization.
The victory of Adwa was scored in 1896. Today, we need another victory. The victory for Adwa also was the beginning point of African resistance to colonization. It underpins the importance of Pan-Africanism. So going forward, we must really leverage on the victory of Adwa to remobilize African brothers and sisters to face the present-day challenges facing the continent.
Asked about the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum, Matua said that it is very important to have the memory of the victory because such memory allowed the young people who have never been educated about that victory. The Adwa Victory Memorial, a monumental project located at the center of the capital, encompasses a museum, meeting halls, amphitheater, library, art gallery, exhibition center, and other facilities, all dedicated to honoring the heroes and heroines of the historic triumph. The Pan-Africanists finally showed that remembering the victory of Adwa is very significant. It's very important as a victory itself because it mentally prepares at the present-day Africans that we can actually defeat the current threat facing the continent.
You're watching Amhara Media Corporation English Service, and now let's proceed to News Beyond Borders. Kenya's world record marathon runner Kelvin Kiptum killed in car crash. Kiptum, who exploded onto the marathon scene in October, was the overwhelming favorite to win the Paris Olympics. Kenya's world record holding marathon runner Kelvin Kiptum has died in a car crash. The death of the 24-year-old, who was driving in the western Kenya on Sunday evening when his car rolled over, has left the world of athletics in shock. Local police officers say that Kiptum lost control of the vehicle and the young running sensation in his Rwandan coach Gervais were killed on the spot. A female passenger who sustained injuries was rushed to the hospital. He was just 23 years old at the time and competing in only his third marathon. Kiptum also won his other two races, his debut in Valencia in 2022 and a follow-up in London the following year, as Al Jazeera News reported it. Delegates from around the world gathered in Panama City for the 10th conference of the parties to the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. It was the first in-person conference of the parties since 2018, with earlier meetings held remotely because of the COVID-19 pandemic. WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control chief said, although in the past 20 years tobacco prevalence among adults has declined, the warning of the dangers the industry poses for the environment has continued. Dr. Blanco Marquizo alerted that the lands used for tobacco cultivation are lands that cannot be quickly reconverted to be used again because tobacco on the one hand is very demanding in terms of soil nutrients, but it also requires the intensive use of pesticides, so tobacco is very polluting. The World Health Organization warned last year that many countries facing food security issues were also big tobacco growing economies. Some 8 million people die each year from tobacco use worldwide, as Africa News reported it. That's all we have for now. I'm Gaila Damu. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with Ameco.